patience. I asked Minister Birmingham about Senator Bernardi's comments in relation to schools being a place of learning and not indoctrination. And I asked him whether the government would be looking at the chaplains program in light of this fact, because it receives $243 million over the last 4 years. That, of course, compares to $8 million for the Safe Schools Coalition, so 30 times the level of funding to that particular project, which Senator Bernardi argues is indoctrinating our children. Now, the response I received from Senator Birmingham indicated that there is no plan to look at the chaplaincy issue. Now, I'm merely pointing this out because it highlights the complete inconsistency in the government's thinking on these issues, because the chaplains program, the way that it operates, sees federal funds being given primarily to an organisation called the Scripture Union in Queensland, Tasmania and Victoria that organises chaplains to go into schools, and a range of other religious organisations in different states. And I went to the website of the Scripture Union earlier today to learn a little bit about this organisation. And it says, and I quote from their website, "The Scripture Union is a Christian organisation which works with churches throughout Australia and the world to make God's news known to children and young people and to encourage them to become followers of God through regular Bible readings and prayer, and also link up with their local church." This is a message that's going into our schools, Mr. Acting Deputy President. Well, if that is not indoctrination, I don't know what is. Promoting a particular religious message to school children, and doing so with a huge amount of government funds. Now, I want to make it very clear that the Australian Greens have been arguing for many years that we should have more support for our young people within schools, but that this should come in the form of secular counselling, not chaplains that are aligned with any particular religious organisation. So why is it, when we're talking about providing information to students about issues of sexual difference or gender identity, that that's somehow indoctrinating people? Why is it that that's seen as being indoctrination? Well, we know why that is. We know why that is, and Senator McEwen has touched on it in her contribution. It's because of the brazen homophobia we see on the side of those opposite. They have this ridiculous idea that if you talk about differences in sexuality, you're somehow going to convert people. And I mean, what an absolutely absurd proposition that is. A crazy proposition, but that's the kind of view of the people that sit opposite. Now, I have to say, as a student of Australian politics before I entered this place, I did think that the Abbott government was Jurassic Park. Looked a lot like Jurassic Park, but when Malcolm Turnbull moved into the lodge, I thought that that was the end. I thought that that was the end.
Order. Point of order, Senator Williams.
Speaker, to please refer to those in other place by the correct title, please, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Williams, and I'll remind all senators that they need to refer to people in this chamber and the other chamber by their correct titles or names. Senator Sims, you have the call.
President, when Prime Minister Turnbull became Prime Minister, I had hoped that that was the end of the Jurassic Park. But no, there's a sequel. Jurassic World is here. Malcolm Turnbull is in the lodge, but Jurassic World is here. Dinosaurs walk among us. Here's one
Senator
now,
Sims.
Mr. President.
Yeah, I think I'm right, Senator Williams, but thank you. Senator Sims, I did remind all senators to refer to people in the other place, in particular the Prime Minister, by his title. Senator Sims, you have the call.
Thank you, Chair. I apologise. Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull. Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull has found himself in a sequel, Jurassic World. If only Chris Pratt was part of it as well, but alas not. Might be doing better at the box office than the government is currently, because this sequel seems to be a bit of a flop, because we're seeing the same tired old policies being reignited, and we're seeing that now with this crusade against the Safe Schools Coalition, because we know that the Liberals want to push their particular ideology, their particular worldview within our schools, and they hate the idea. There are people in that party that hate the idea of talking about diversity and hate the idea of actually recognising the reality of the world in which we live. Well, this is 21st century Australia, and LGBTI young people and children have a right to feel safe and respected at school. And it is appalling to see Prime Minister Turnbull caving in to the kind of bigotry and nonsense that we've seen on the Conservative side of politics this week. He needs to show some spine, he needs to show some backbone, and the Australian people want better from their Prime Minister.
Thank you.